Hi everybody, this is Rich here at Cogliano Leatherworks. I just wanted to do a quick little video and talk about probably one of the most common questions I get asked when people find out that I make leather goods. They normally say, "Hey Rich, that's beautiful stitching, that's so cool. You must have a really big, powerful machine that stitches through all the leather." Truth be told, my machine is right here. I use my hands. I make the holes using stitching chisels. There's a variety of different techniques, but this is what I have chosen. And I just wanted to show folks what it looks like to actually stitch through a piece of leather and what that results in with a stitched line. Part of this was because a fellow leather crafter reached out to me today and said, "Hey, can you show me a comparison between the stitching chisels you have been using and the new Sinabroks I picked up about 6 months ago?" So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to poke some holes real quick using the various chisels that I have. This is a 5.5 millimeter from Leathercraft Japan. And I'm just going to start here, line it up. I already drew lines about a ½ inch apart. You can see I've poked all the way through the leather. Now I can go ahead and do this time and time again, as long as I need, and just follow that line. I can stitch around corners by using a 2-prong as well, and just kind of make that turn ever so slightly. This next one here is a 4.5. It's a little smaller, gives me and what that spacing refers to is, or that measurement is really the spacing between the tines. These are diamond chisels. You can see there's really 4 planes to that chisel. And I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to poke my 4.5 here. That not all chisels are the same. The first ones I started with were lacing chisels, and instead of having a diamond angle to them, they were just straight, flat pieces. And they worked well, but they didn't give me the stitch look that I wanted. So I upgraded to these diamond chisels, and these have been my workhorse. I use these 5.5s for almost everything I do. All of my desk pads get that. But I recently acquired the Sinabroks from Buckle Guy. These are 3.85 millimeter spacing. And you can see these don't really have the 4 planes. They are pretty much a slat, an angled slat, and they give you a different look when stitching. They go in much the same. They do exactly the same. The hole looks a little different because it's a different tine. This is also a 10-tooth as compared to a 5-tooth or 6-tooth. These are the teeth here. And then finally, this is what I was using for some of my finer goods earlier. And this is a 3.5, again, same Leathercraft Japan, diamond chisel, and just a smaller 3.5 millimeter spacing. So let's see what this looks like. So I'm just going to do one more here, line it all up. Okay, so now you get the picture. So you can see the holes, the diamond holes. This is 5.5, 4.5, 3.85 Sinabroks, and then the 3.5, different shaped holes. And they all pretty much follow the line, but they all look a little bit differently when you stitch them. Now I'm going to come over to this. I just stitched this up. Same sort of thing. So 5.5, 4.5, 3.85 Sinabroks, and then the 3.5 diamond. Down here I did another Sinabroks line, and I'll show you in a second why. So these here are using a Ritza tiger thread in 0.8 millimeter. And I really did that just to kind of see and show and compare what the stitches look like at different measurements with the same thread. So you can see you got a wider stitch here, a little bit narrower, a little bit narrower. The thing I like about the Sinabroks, and why I bought the Sinabroks to begin with, is because that tine there, without the diamond, gives you a really nice refined shape, a nice slat. And so when you're stitching, you get a really nice stitch line with the Sinabroks. Down here, I shifted to a 0.6 Ritza tiger thread. And you can barely tell, but this is green, this is black. This is the 3.5 diamond, and this is the 385 Sinabroks below. You can tell, you still get a slat, but the slat with the slant, I should say, the slant with the Sinabroks is just a little more refined. And I'm going to draw that out just a little bit more. I'm going to grab my hammer, and I'm going to stitch. This is just a small little cobbler's hammer I have. And I'm going to hammer my stitches flat. Now I've done that for the two top diamond chisels. You don't see much of a difference. Now when I get to the Sinabroks, what I have found, and I'm not sure if you can really tell, but when you tamp down the stitching after using the Sinabroks, so for this line here and this line here, you can see that the thread tends to get pushed more to the corner of the slat. So the angle of the chisel is like this. It's getting pushed up here and then down here. Sorry, up here and down here. I like that with the Sinabroks. I like that look. On the back, again, my little cheat sheet here, I just feel the diamond chisels are a little flat. The Sinabroks, it's a little flat here. But down here with the 0.6 and the 385 spacing, it looks really good. The back seam looks really good. You can get that angle slat. And I'm sure if I tamp that down a little, well, let's just see. Okay, maybe not. You still get a little bit of it. So there you have just a bit of comparison between the stitching, the different stitching chisels I use, the Sinabroks versus the diamond shape. What does this matter when doing leather goods? Honestly, it's about aesthetics. The thread is going to hold. I'm using a traditional saddler's stitch. I'm using a single piece of thread that's getting looped through and knotted in each of these holes. So the threads are coming through the holes like this and then passing over and knotting each other. So this is something that is holding each stitch in. It's very strong, very durable. If one breaks, it's not going to all unravel. You have to cut every single one for this to come undone. With things like my desk pads and mouse pads, and I'm using this diamond chisel, it's because it's a chunkier stitch, but it's a bigger item, and it looks good with that item. If I were to use something like this on a watch band or a wallet, it's going to be too chunky. So that's why I've opted for, especially with some of my finer goods, the alligator goods, this Sinabroks. I just love the stitch that it gives on some finer goods. Where am I going? I like the diamond chisel, but I think eventually I'll upgrade to something like a Sinabroks in this spacing. There's a few other makers out there that make these style. Eventually I'll probably go with something like that, although I'm really happy with the Sinabroks. I really am. I think it gives a really good solid look. And I'm in the middle. You'll be seeing a project coming soon where I'm actually debating, do I use the 0.8 or the 0.6? Which Sinabroks do I use? or sorry, which Ritza thread do I use? I'm not sure. They both look good. I might leave it up to my customer. But there we go, folks. That'll do it. That is just a quick overview of how I stitch my leather goods. Everything is done by hand, from the poking of the holes into the leather to the stitching. And that's a wrap. Thanks, folks.